Hello, welcome to the Battle and Barrow and a review, and you've probably guessed it by the title and what have you, but yeah, I've done it. I've bought the new version. I wasn't going to, because I already have 2 copies of the original, my one that I got back in December 1989, my beloved original, and then another one that I bought in the early 2000s too, because I was getting a bit worried about the condition of my beloved original, and I'm sort of getting a bit worried now about that 2000 edition. I don't want to damage it any more than what it sort of gets when you play around with it, so I thought I'd buy a new one. I wasn't going to do a video about it because I thought everyone's done a review or a look at the new Heroquest. I think even my mate's Nan did a review of it. It's badass, go and check it out. But I thought, let's come at this from a different angle. If you're American, then you're going to say this is pretty much largely the same as the one you had in the 80s. But if you are from the UK, there are going to be some notable differences to the version you're probably used to. So I thought we'd take it from that angle. We'll have a look at it. Let's have a look at it unboxed first of all, and then we can talk about the system itself and obviously go over why you should still play Heroquest when there are other dungeon crawlers out there now. So let's get this box open. So yeah, this is the box. It is, I don't know how to describe it, but here is the original box coming in. The artwork is surprisingly familiar. Here is the artwork from the 80s one. We're pretty much the same with character placement here, zombies and creature placements here. Any differences really is over here. Our elf is now 1 female, and 2, she is up on the stairs rather than down here. And there is a female orc. We've got female orcs, and I think some female goblins somewhere, but largely the composition is the same. The size is totally different though. This is longer and sort of standard thickness of this one is quite a bit more chunky. The logo that was the box. The logo is pretty much the same. On the back, it's a similar story. We have a lovely sort of few pictures showing it off, which kind of matches what we had in our version back in the day. Sans kids playing it, because I think Hasbro knew that this was not going to appeal to younger people. This is going to appeal to old people like me that want to recreate their youth. Now, if I lift the lid off the original and flip it over, in the UK that's what we had. This is where our assembly instructions were. Whereas in the new one, squeaky, it's just plain, it's just a lid, there's nothing in there. That's what we're going to do first. We're going to go through this and go over the differences between them. The first thing we see is again the artwork presented, and we have this slip case of the plastic, 1 tray of plastic, which we'll go over in a sec. What I want to do first is go over a few other things. The books and tiles came in this piece of paper. That's some tissue, so we don't need to look at that. What I want to look at is, this is the original screen, this is the new one. Now the composition again is pretty much the same, with sort of undead and orcs scattered around. There's sort of differences if you really want to get down that way. We have here, there's the mummy, there's the mummy here. The main difference is there is IP differences. So the Famir is here, but here it's a new creature called the Abomination. Some zombies and skeletons here, and there is an orc here that isn't part of the composition there. So that's pretty much it. Another difference would be, I think the American one pretty much looked like this. You flip it over, you got your rule summary and your monster stats here, and some combat summary here. We didn't have that in the UK. we had this. So ours just had what the symbols meant that you see on your map, so and what the rules for the traps. Now the reason was because really, this is another difference here, is this was what made me initially get interested in it. It's the body points. UK was a really stripped down version. In my mind, I don't know what the story is behind it, but they're all 1 in the UK, and I don't know if that was a misprint and it's just too costly for them to recall it and reprint it. So in our version it was just 1, so this is slightly different from the get-go. The rulebook, old and new here. The rulebook on the new is much thicker, it's colourful, made from better quality paper, and it's got enough stitch binding, whereas this has staples that just corrode over time. The text here, and this is what again makes me think it's meant to be more core, especially in the new one. It's talking about him being more core, and you have this picture here. More core mentor has a picture here, but largely the text is the same, just with a Control F, Control H really, for finding replace, because if there's anything Games Workshop related, then it will have been replaced. The main one being, it talks up here, we'll talk about Lords of Chaos, Chaos being a very Games Workshop thing, even though they did steal it from Michael Moorcock. It will talk about Hordes of Dread here. The rules themselves are slightly different. I don't know if US was different to this, but in here we just had things like this, going over what things were. And it had the Way of the Warrior, which is basically for everyone. The Way of the Wizard, which is just for the wizard. The Way of the Scout, which is mainly for the elf, I guess. But yeah, it's sort of split up into things like that, and it's quite a condensed rule set. This one sort of makes me laugh now, but I guess it does say in the section is if you are new to Heroquest. But even if you're not new to Heroquest, you might have played in other games. It says what makes it unique, and really none of these make it unique. It's one player takes the role of Zargon, the evil sorcerer controlling the game. The other players assume the role of the heroes, much like any tabletop role-playing game. Games 2 to 5, each quest contains the only quest book. One quest takes, these are things, if you played any kind of modern game of this nature, then that's not unique. But that's by the by, that's just a little nitpick. And then for me though, the rules are good. I've read through them, they're good, they really explain the game well. Not that it's the most complex game there is, but yeah, it goes over it. And instantly we've got another difference here, because we have Dread spell cards. We didn't have that in the UK. I don't know if that was standard in the 80s American one or not, but we definitely don't have that, so that's interesting already. I said the monsters are different. It does sort of seem a bit more, I don't want to hesitate to use the word advanced, because we already have an advanced Heroquest. We have sort of a little bit of lore here of the world, but not too great. It's one thing, another downside I would like to see is, and don't get me wrong, the originals didn't do it either until I think it's Keller's Keep was the first one that did it in the UK. I could be wrong. I am totally wrong. Yeah, okay, it's the Witch Lord, which gives us the map of the Old World, the Warhammer Old World. So it's not until the third, the Witch Lord expansion, the third expansion does it, but that was back then, whereas now we sort of know better. I would have liked to have seen a map of this game world they're creating, this world. So it does sound quite interesting, a bit like the Old World of Warhammer. And perhaps on the back page we could have had a map and say we've got these quest notes. Does anyone actually use these? I've never seen anyone say all those quest notes in those rule books are useful, but ho hum. That's just another little, these are all minor gripes. This is Heroquest after all, and Heroquest is awesome. So it goes through all the actions you can do in detail and how to move and what have you. And it's a roll and move game, which you roll dice, that's how many spaces you move. People don't like that nowadays. I don't mind it, because to me, that represented you walking through the dungeon, and sometimes it might be the floor a bit more uneven, a bit more sketchy, and a bit more difficult to move through than other times. So to me, it represented that, just that not every place in the dungeon is going to be the same. You might have to take a bit more care. So if you roll double one, that's what you've come across. The dungeon's a bit uneven, so you're taking a bit more care. So roll and move is not egregious to me. I quite like them, and we'll get into that afterwards. At the end, I want to talk about why we should still play Heroquest. So that's the rule book. It's really cool. Explains everything you need, and that's pretty much it. The quest book is likewise similar enough to with the cover, but different. It has the same texting here, kind of thing, same story again, changed. And here are our first differences in quest. Now, obviously, don't look away if you don't want to see them, but don't want anything spoiled. But I'm reviewing a game that really originally came out in the 80s. So, but we had the maze as our starting quest before we went on to the more familiar rescue of Sir Ragnar. I believe this is a US based thing, the trial, so I'm trying not to look at it too much myself, so I'm going to be playing this using the companion app. Yes, this now has a companion app taking the role of the GM, so I'm looking forward to that. So I'm going to won't dwell on this, but it is different. We had this, that is ours, that we had in the UK. Next, quest 2. Again, it looks different. I suppose. Well, we had a printing error on ours, really, where the dark rooms are where you can't go, and so it looks similar enough here, you notice, but you'll notice one thing, or a few things already. One, there's a torture rack here, which isn't in the UK one, and the original one, but there's this room up here, which you could never get to, which isn't here. So that was something, but apart from that, it is largely the same. The door shifted across here, and an extra goblin down here that isn't here, so I don't want to dwell on it too much. Rooms has extra monsters in. You know, here we just have one Famir. Here you have the Famir replacement and an orc. Orcs changed over here, extra orc here, so this is tougher, and an extra goblin here, so this is going to be tougher, which is kind of what you want as an adult now playing this. Lore of the Orc Lord is similarly similar but different, more monsters, so I don't know if this is the American version where I just up the difficulty, or whether it's just done for this version. Prince Magus' Gold, Melar's Maze, Legacy of the Orc Warlord, The Lost Wizard here, but in our version back then it's called Stone Hunter. The maze is pretty much the same, and the board's pretty much the same, but it's just another one of those little differences. In the UK book, we get into the centre of the book where you have your own, where you can photocopy and do your own dungeon. Fire Mage, similar. Race Against Time, similar. Castle of Mystery, very similar. Bastions of Dread, obviously a rename from Bastions of Chaos, although Chaos is quite a generic name. Barak Tor, Barrow of the Witch Lord, and I thought it would have been this that we would have to have renamed rather than the word Chaos. And then Quest for the Spirit Blade, and Return to Barak Tor. Now, I've never actually, at the end, we have our blank one here, the symbols here, and then last page we have the matchup of this text here and the monsters here. I love this artwork. Is this Gary Chalk? think it's scary chalk. It's very talisman-esque, isn't it? I prefer the artwork here to modern artwork. I don't know, this is very good artwork. It's not saying this is bad artwork. It's just the aesthetic style I just sort of prefer. Old stuff, but ho hum, we have tissue paper. I'm actually going to keep this because this will be useful for terrain projects. Next, we have a section of tiles, good quality stock tiles, probably slightly thicker than, say, the old ones. I'll grab this out. So, thickness is somewhat notable. It's probably about double the thickness. You can't really see it on camera, I don't think, but yeah, this new stock's thicker. And another thing is the new squares, and so the tiles as well, are a true inch, whereas this was like 7/8 inch or something like that. It was smaller anyway. So we have, yeah, the traps, we have the rubbles, the stairs, these blocked off things. This, don't know what this is, never had that back in the day, but it changes, flips. It's two-sided but different on each side. The stairs, so we have two sets of stairs now. On the flip side, standard stairs now, these ones. Secret doors, these things here, and we have these, which we wouldn't have in the original. And these are to keep track of the monsters' body points, because in the UK one you didn't need to bother because they were 1 point each, whereas we have different ones now. The board is, as I mentioned earlier, due to that 1 inch difference, the board is bigger now than the old board. See the old board, I don't know how I'm going to show you this because my camera is off, but hopefully if I can, I'm holding it at the bottom here and the ends, you can see it's different, but the artwork is largely the same. Around here so you can see, do a quick comparison here, just that it's bigger and maybe has a bit more ruin to it, so it looks more aged. But a lot of modern stuff doesn't appeal to me, it looks too digital, whereas this lovely sort of almost hand-drawn, I guess, look back then. But this, because it keeps that original, it's fine. It's 4 sort of leaves, as it were, gatefolded in the middle. So it comes in, each sort of plastic component, figures and scenery, comes in these trays, which have the card slip over. So we just suppose that. They're in a nice sturdy clamshell you can pull off. First up, let's have a look at the character sheets here. I don't know if I've still got any of the originals left at hand. I do. Rest of them, but so that's comparison of new to old. Mind points, body points, tasks completed, and what have you. So task completed means quest completed, but here we just have a circle. You can circle in and write your potions and what have you here. Weapons, armor here. Yeah, I prefer these. I gotta say. The cards, let's have a look at the cards where we get all the plastic. So it's the same as what you have before. Treasure card. Let's have a look here, see if I can find. Probably can't find them quickly at hand. Yeah, so there we go. Treasure card, that's what they used to look like originally. I look at now. Cards are bigger. They are about the same thickness in stock. So yeah, that's the cards. So the same thickness, quality, but bigger, and black and white, but sepia. Which again, you kind of expect this in modern games, really. Back then, there was, black and white cards were fine. But I have to admit, kind of do prefer these. These are just nice. The artwork is different, but similar in style. So if I show you, Potion of Healing. So, you know, a bit like the cover. It's been redone, but it's similar. So there's nothing going to be shocking or off-putting there. And so we have our treasure cards. I'm not going to go through the individual cards. I think you can guess their cards. We have the artifacts, which are the special ones in the game that you can find. We have the equipment cards. These are what you can buy, and the rules for them when you buy them. Character cards. This is where perhaps the Avalon original gets something done better. In the original had these thick things. I prefer these to these. Picture a mentor. You are the dwarves. It has the text anywhere here. The text is on the back of the cards. Perhaps I would have preferred this on here kind of thing, because this was actually always really hard to read. Attack through 2 combat dice, whereas attack 2, I know what that means. Movement 2 red dice. Starting weapon short sword, starting armor none. So everything else is the same here really. 2 movement dice, 2 d8, so that's all the same, but I prefer that with that table on there. That would be my preference. We have those. We have these. Now these are the monster cards for the new version, and this is what they look like before. So basically the old version, the cards are the same. Similar enough composition, but I just, you know, the artwork I just do prefer from back here. And the irony is, the miniatures when this came out, I wasn't really a fan of Old Hammer miniatures back then. I preferred the more realistic Raoul Partha Grenadier miniatures for D&D, so these just stood out when I tried to use them in my D&D games in '89. I would have preferred the miniatures that are in this back then, whereas now I like the Old Hammer look, and so the miniatures then appeal to me more than miniatures these, although when we get to the miniatures of these are blooming good miniatures. So there is that. We have these cards here, just have the rule summary upon them. We have the spell cards. We have these, which are new to me. These are dread spells, whereas we didn't have those in the UK game. I think they might have come in a second edition or a later expansion, but we have the spell cards, which are the same: water, earth, fire and air scenario. Interestingly, our cards would say sometimes you can use this on another player if it was a combat card, because the UK version, at least the 80s one, was very more, this is a pure cooperative game, whereas back then there was a bit of competitiveness, so you could use some of the spells on your fellow heroes to stop them. If you wanted to win the game, as it were, you'd be the one to do the deed. And also there was a few occasions when Morcars minions could use spells, and you just use the spells from here that say you can use this on another player. Okay, next up we got the plastic. We got these are skulls. So you can see we've got human skulls and sort of monstrous skulls. There are no pegs for these, like in the originals, to pop them into things, to hold them in place. So I will probably not be doing that with these. Same with the rat, there's no peg. It's just a rat, so no peg. So I'll just won't be doing anything of those. Those will live in the box. We have the scenery, which is lovely. It's made from this bendy plastic, so no snapping of the candles, which is always the first thing to go. There's no cardboard element, so it is all highly detailed, and I will probably be busting this out for other games as well. Advanced Heroquest, who knows, maybe even an original Heroquest, definitely D&D, but yeah, you can see it here, really nice and detailed sculpting. I'm looking forward to painting these up. On other people's version of this I've seen online before mine. I don't know if this is like a newer edition. I didn't go buy straight away. I've only just got this. These seem to be really hard to get in and out. Like you have to. So, and then people sort of recommended don't paint them and store them in these. But I'm going to do that because these just don't. There's nothing. They just easily pop out. I don't know if it's just they've changed the design of the holder, because before it might have been too tight. They just don't. There's nothing scraping against the side, so I'll be doing that. Torture chamber. Yeah, look at this. It's all familiar if you've seen the if you got the first game, but different. This stuff is amazing. The chair, cool. We have 2 tables, which is brilliant. This alone has sort of saved me a bit of money, so I was going to buy some tables for D&D for taverns and what have you. I'll just be using these because these are great, nicely detailed. The weapons rack here is fairly similar to the original. Here's my original painted up. You can probably use these side by side and they will work really well in D&D or what have you. They are ever so slightly bigger, but not egregiously so. Weapons being the same. So yeah, look, I can have 3 weapons racks just for fun. Anyway, that's that. Wizard's table. Again, because of the soft plastic, you can sort of make the scales work. No, again, everything's just attached. This is all separate before, so there's no pegs or anything. Chests are now like this, and again, you can use these in other games. That is so super duper detailed. I'll save that. The fireplace. Yeah, look at that. It's lovely. Super cool. I'll do this last. The cupboard. And just like in the original, their sort of base colour is the colour. If it's wood, they're brown. If it's stone based, they're grey. And that was just something the original did as well. The bookcase with just great, isn't it? That is amazing. Yeah, they have 2 bookcases. My D&D players' worst nightmare: doors. So we have. They're a bit tighter in there. So these doors. That's what the rest of this was like for other people. So I don't have that. So I might just try and pop that out so I can do that. But I might be taking these out of the box for use in other games, such as D&D, which is a key theme on this set. So you have 2 types of doors: closed and open. You only have 5 closed doors. The rest are open. And the reason I wanted to save this to last, this is the tomb, because there is some extra thought into this that you can lift it up like so, which is amazing. So that is the this set. And in the next one, it has the same slip, and this is where the plastic is for this. Okay, this is where the miniatures are and the dice. You have 2 red standard D6s, but they are really nice. I just like the quality of them. I'm going to move 8. And we have the Heroquest dice. Now, originally both sets of dice in this were wooden. They're smaller. I was never a fan of these dice because, whilst I say they're wooden, they were really light as well. I just feel light, but that was the style of the time. The dice are now bigger. They don't have rounded corners, they're these square corners. We have the Lying Shield, the Monster Shield, and the Skull. I kind of prefer the Skull on this one with his eyes going up, sort of Ray Harryhausen style, but that is what it is. Ultimately though, I prefer these dice. These dice are awesome, these Skull dice. They just roll really nice. So that's the dice. So this is the Barbarian. This is the heroes first. I'll do a quick comparison. They are slightly bigger. If I move the base up, he is a much bigger barbarian than our 80s counterpart. I bring Hugo in, which to me represents modern playing gaming for D&D. Hugo sits comfortably in the middle, and scale wise these two probably match more. Aesthetically wise these two probably match more. This is a 80s heroic scale and heroic style old hammer type of model, whereas this is more modern based. If we look at the elf, it's slightly more scale. I think this one is meant to be bigger and hench because he's a barbarian. Compared to the wizards, he's even towers over the wizard. So have a look at the elf. Here is a main difference. The elf, this is a female character, which is nice. And elves now in this world have these big long ears, which remind me of the record of Lawless War, which is cool. I can handle that. The wizard, yeah, it looks different. His staff now finally has the moon at the top, whereas before he kind of similar pose, but not as please sir, can I have your attention, I want to speak. He's sort of holding his hand up. This is a really weird pose. I get it, I get the pose. And the dwarf with his massive chopper. Okay, let's do is 6 goblins, and this is another peculiarity of the book. If I can pull up the quest book, I don't want to talk about a time when we're looking through, but we have here the symbols to make your own maps. You have symbols for 8 orcs, 6 orcs and 8 goblins, but in the set you have 8 orcs and 6 goblins. It's the other way around. So whereas there's 8 goblins, you only have 6, and there's 8 orcs and you only have a weird thing, a weird anomaly. But let's have a look at the goblins. There are 6 goblins, as I said, each with 2 poses, and this one here I believe is a female goblin, so that's interesting. Nothing wrong. Before anyone goes down one thinking, we've always had female orcs and goblins and goblinoids in our 80s games in D&D. If you ever played D&D Keep on the Borderlands, you will know there are even children humanoids in that, so nothing wrong there. We never used to get female models. This would be great for that. I actually really like these models as goblins. These will probably be my D&D goblins from now on. I really do like these. I like goblins with sort of hoods on, so I can paint them red, sort of red cap goblins based on British folklore. But these just look really cool. I like these. They're great goblins. The orcs, again, there are different poses. So we have 4 poses of orcs. And this big guy here, gruff guy with a chopper. Burly dude here with a massive sword. These again would make great D&D orcs. I do have to prefer, I keep saying this, keep reiterating it, I prefer the aesthetic style, the original now, the old hammer style, but ho hum, it is what it is. These are female orcs. So again, that's cool. I think this one here is female as well. And they're made from the same plastic as this furniture, so it's slightly bendy, but not too bendy. A lot of people have problems with theirs in the initial run, but buying it later seems to have paid off. There's no bent components in this whatsoever. Go to the other green. Like I should point that out, like the original, they're coded, so the plows are red, goblinoids and humanoids are green, undead's white, and the chaos or dread are grey. So our last green is this. Is amazing. This is the Famir replacement, and this is called an abomination. and it's like a big fish man. How cool is that? I actually really like the look of this, the style of this, the choice of this. I'm thinking of getting Keller's Keep to get a few more of that. You get 3, just like the Vermeer. Want some more of these. These would be so useful for Shalgrin and things like that in other games. Studio Undead next. You have 4 skeletons. They are the same pose, and like the original, they have a scythe, so that is cool. All same pose. The mummy. Yeah, that's cool. Really nice detailed mummy. The zombie. I wish he kind of looked more like the original. I don't know how. Just standing there with these sort of blunt meat cleaves up. I prefer that, but that's just me, as I said. Let's have a look at the Dread Warriors. Replacement for the Chaos Warriors. They're similar in style with sort of ram's horn helmets and just really nice detailed models for modern gaming. Fantastic. Let's have a look at the Chaos Dread Sorcerer. My original, or not my original painted up sensibly, but my copy that I bought in 2000, I painted up like this, so he looks like Skeletor. Unfortunately, I can't do that with this one. He's different. He's got a staff, but he looks like a cool lich for. I'm going to say it's not D&D, but yeah, cool lich. So finally, the one that has, apart from the abominations, the one that has changed the most in redesign is the Gargoyle. Now, originally, the Gargoyle kind of looks like a Games Workshop Warhammer Bloodthirster model, so I guess even the design was off limits. You can have the name Gargoyle, because that's what they've still called it, but the design of it, similar enough. You know, it's a winged, horned thing with a sword and a hero whip, here an axe. But yeah, has a whippy tail though, and it's all in there. What I'm noticing, there's no mold lines, no bending, no nothing. These are really cool models. Nice detailed Gargoyle. So that is the contents of the set. Like for like, it's everything you get in the 80s, you get in here. I'm obviously getting extras to what I got in the 80s with those spell cards. But yeah, that's Heroquest. So I guess the main question is, why should you be interested in not only buying it but playing it in 2023 when we have a lot of other dungeon crawlers such as the original Heroquest, Warhammer Quest 95, Warhammer Quest Silver Tower, Warhammer Quest Shadows of Hammerfell, Warhammer Quest Blackstone Fortress, Warhammer Quest Descent 1st Edition, Descent 2nd Edition, Dragon Strike, Dungeon Quest, Dungeons and Dragons Wrath of Ashardalon, Dungeons and Dragons Castle Ravenloft, Dungeons and Dragons Legend of Dritz, Dungeons and Dragons Fantasy Adventure board game. You get the picture. There are so many dungeon based games out there that we could buy and play. So why would we play this one? And for me, there's not only just nostalgia that I love playing this game as a kid. And this sounds like it might be a negative, but it's not. For me, it's a positive. It's the simplicity. At the moment, I'm in knee deep in a 2.5 year Dungeons and Dragons campaign, which takes a lot of time in prep and running it. Sure, I've got all the aforementioned games that were in that list. I could play that, but Heroquest, it's the simplicity of it. It's just roll and move around the dungeon, roll some dice with symbols on it to fight. It's rules light, which means I'm going to really enjoy playing it because I don't have to worry about learning a whole new rule set, worrying about. You see it if I do Let's Plays on this channel. Even though I've played the game and I know the rules when it comes to playing it, I forget things, you get things wrong. Whereas Heroquest, it's going to be simple to do, and that's what I'm going to look forward to. I want to play a nice fantasy game. At the moment, my D&D games sort of nautical campaigns, nautical and piratey, whereas I just want to play a high adventure game in the world of magic, and that is what this is going to allow me to do. Another thing I like about the original Heroquest, or in this case the revised Heroquest, is you know just how much space you're going to need during the game. When I play other games such as Advanced Heroquest or Warhammer Quest, I have to drag out my table 4x4 table topper to put on top of the table because I don't know how much room I'm going to need. With Heroquest, that is not an issue. You can just lay it out, you know how much room you need, so I don't have to pull out the table topper. I can just use my normal table size and just happily play out on that, which means I'm going to be more inclined to play it. I've never played through all 14 missions of the base game either. In the original set, for the years I've played it, you play about 5 and then life moves on, but I'm determined to get that done, and I'll cover it on the channel. I'm going to do a video like how I mostly do with my videos, where I sort of have a look at a game, then paint it up and then play it. I'm going to do that with Heroquest and record it for the channel, and that is, I'll probably record it solo, and that is what I mentioned earlier on. This does have an app. It has something called the Heroquest companion app, which takes the role of the GM, and this looks amazing. Probably really useful for a simple game like this. That's why the simplification works in its favour. The downside to it is it's not on PC, so for streaming, streaming it, or what I'm going to be doing, recording it, I want to have the app on screen so you guys can see it in action while I'm using it. And so I've got to look into getting a nice way of doing that because it's Android and iOS only, so I've got to look at that. I can either perhaps emulate it or cast my phone screen to the PC, but yeah, that's the downside. If you're doing this, get it on Steam, guys. Come on, it's not like you're a small Mickey Mouse company, are you? You're owned by Hasbro. Put it on Steam. But yeah, so what I'm going to do now is probably wrap this up. My thoughts are, this is Heroquest, this is brilliant, go and buy it. I got this brand new for £65. £65 just for the plastic alone is worth it. I only ever had Keller's Keep and Return of the Witchlord expansions, whereas you got Frozen Horror now and Mage in the Mirror, and I think a new one just for this game, so I shall look into those later on at a time. I think something Dread, something or other. But I'm going to look into getting the expansions for this. I'm going all in on Heroquest. I resisted for 2 years and now I've given in, so anyway, thanks for watching. Until the next one, guys, stay safe, take care, bye bye.